G'day guys, Ziggy here, welcome back for some more Path of Exile. In this video I want to share with you guys the progress I've been making on my Chaos Conversion project that I've been working on. It originally started out as a, originally I wanted to make a Chaos Firestormer, so I purchased myself a Consuming Dark Dagger, which converts fire damage to Chaos damage, an Infernal Mantle, and a Bino's with the idea of proliferating poison and getting some sweet regen going. But I found out someone was already doing that. Another streamer had already just started doing a Chaos Firestormer, so I'm like, oh, what am I going to do now? So we did some theory crafting and came up with something pretty edgy. I planned on doing a Chaos Ice Spear build, so a Chaos Spear build, using Pyre to convert the cold damage of Ice Spear to fire damage, and then Consuming Dark plus Infernal Mantle to convert that fire into Chaos, and then I would then poison with the poison effect from Consuming Dark and proliferate that poison with Bino's Kitchen Knife. So I was leveling it up, and I finally got to 65, the level to be able to start running this build, and I quickly discovered that the mechanics of Ice Spear are pretty bad for a build like that. Like, it works, and I think it might work decently once you have a decent amount of crit chance, but the mechanics of another spell, Freeze Pulse, actually work way better. So I put on the Freeze Pulse just on a full link. This is on a full link what I'm running just now in this background footage here. So what I did was I was using Bladefall to level, right? And Bladefall is crazy good, so I was destroying everything. And then I switched to Ice Spear and Freeze Pulse at 64 before I could make the full jump to Chaos Conversion, and it was pretty rubbish. I went down to like a quarter of my clear speed, and I was getting like chased out of Dried Lake. Just because the mobs, I couldn't kill the mobs in time. They were just wrecking me. So I was having trouble farming Dried Lake. That's how bad it was. Then we got to 65, and I got the full setup going, and it was just like night and day. I was like, instantly, holy crap, this works. And I still have so much more I can do to this, like so much more damage I can get on the tree, so much more I can do to improve gear, and other like gem setups and things like that that I've started kind of adding in and experimenting with. There's still so much I can do to support this build. But just right away at that swap at 65, instantly, just like, I was like, wow, this actually works. So firstly, what happens is, when I poison enemies using my full chaos damage Freeze Pulse, which at the moment is doing, without frenzy charges, about 6 to 9k chaos damage per hit. I'm hitting those enemies, and most of the time I'm getting one-shotting, or the poison just after that hit from the guaranteed poison from Consuming Dark is going to kind of kill that enemy, or any enemy is touched by the Freeze Pulse. And then Bino's proliferates to any other nearby enemies, that powerful poison stack to all the other surrounding enemies, and they all die. Now, we also had the idea of weaving in some Abyssal Cry into the mixture, which is a very natural choice for this, because what Abyssal Cry does is, when an enemy dies, they deal 8% of their life as chaos damage to surrounding enemies. Now, that is scaled up by all of our chaos damage scaling, and then, because of Consuming Dark is like a global, your chaos damage poisons enemies, Abyssal Cry actually poisons everything else as well, so it creates this like crazy, insane chain reaction where I freeze pulse things, they die to the degen, the degen spreads to nearby enemies, then the Abyssal Cry explodes all those enemies, and they poison nearby enemies, and then if they were touched by the Abyssal Cry, they explode until the whole pack is nothing but just poof, kind of disappeared in a puff of chaos, a puff of purple. And it's working pretty damn nicely, and I still have so much more damage I can get, so I'm pretty excited to see how that goes. And then on top of that, there's another mechanic that I'm actually pretty excited about here, and that is the energy shield regen aspect of Bino's. And this was a big factor in my decision to switch to Freeze Pulse. Basically, what happens is, if you're in close range or close proximity to an enemy when they die of the poison, or when they die while poisoned, it doesn't matter, you can kill them with the Freeze Pulse, or you can kill them with the degen, or an Abyssal Cry can kill them, it's fine. As long as you're near these enemies that are dying, you get a tremendous amount of regen. Now, I'm using Zealot's Oath to make that regen apply to my energy shield, and wow, this is all that hybrid needed to actually be decent. I feel like finally the energy shield is actually functioning as a shield protecting my character. This is a little interesting, but I have just like a massive amount of regen. I usually sit, at over 5k energy shield regen at the moment. As long as all I need to do is, if my energy shield is dropping down low, I just need to Whirling Blades over to an enemy and kill them, and as soon as they die, that energy shield just goes straight back up. And if I'm just generally killing packs and moving through them, and as long as I'm kind of hanging out near some enemies as they die, then I just have so much energy shield that basically I'm immortal to anything but a one-shot. So since I'm, you know, at level 69 now, sitting at over 5k total effective life, with that energy shield just being constantly filled up as I take damage, it ends up being like way more than even that. So I have a pretty hefty kind of like survivability boost from this, and I was like very squishy before making this switch as well and getting this massive regen. So that is working very, very nice, and to the point where I'm even considering in the future dropping a bunch of life nodes, getting more energy shield nodes, and actually making this a low life build. Maybe with like low life chaos resistance style, because you naturally get a lot of chaos resist on this build thanks to things like Binos, a lot of the chaos nodes on the tree, etc. You end up with a lot of extra chaos resistance. So I could potentially do like a high chaos resistance low life build, running extra auras and getting pain attunement for even more damage. And then on top of that, I can potentially in the future scale crit. I'm sitting at 20%, 22% crit chance now with no real effort, just because I'm, you know, just because I happen to be dual wielding daggers, etc. I could easily boost that to like 40% plus without really any significant investment. So there's definitely some potential here. And this is not like a build guide. I'm not giving you guys the full build guide or anything here, but there's definitely some potential. And I'm going to continue exploring this character over the next couple days on stream. I'm very, very excited to see where this goes, because I feel like I've come across something that here is like maximum edge, right? Like this is so edgy. Taking a cold skill, converting it to fire, then converting it to chaos to poison, proliferate enemies. Like that's maximum edginess, but it actually makes some sense. Like there's actually good reasons for doing it. Freeze Pulse is an excellent skill to do this mechanically. You're getting in, you get damage bonus from getting in close. It feels very good for this style of poisoning enemies and spreading this around, and it puts you in a good position to use Abyssal Cry as well. And then on top of that, projectile damage affects Freeze Pulse, the initial hit, so it scales up the initial chaos damage. And the way that poison actually works is that it is scaled by projectile damage as well, if it's applied by a projectile like Freeze Pulse. So any projectile damage I'm getting, and I'm going to be getting quite a lot, is double dipping on the poison. So I'm scaling up the initial hit and then the poison on top of that. And then same for any chaos damage scaling as well, as scaling up the initial hit and then the poison on top of that. So some really kind of like potent damage amplification there. So you can see here's the 4-link I'm running, Freezing Pulse with added chaos. Eventually added cold could be better. Once I get cold and fire scaling, like for example there's this cluster over here, cold and fire, Snowforged cluster. Once I get that, it might actually be worth swapping added chaos for added cold, because it'll probably end up being more damage, because it'll scale, the cold damage will scale the cold before the conversion, the fire damage will scale the fire after the conversion, and then it will all convert to chaos anyway, and all my chaos scaling and projectile scaling will take effect. So added cold could be better later on. Added chaos just a little bit better at the moment. Controlled destruction, even though I'm using like daggers and stuff and I can go crit on this, controlled destruction is the way it is at the moment. It's it takes off a little bit of crit chance, right? But it gives you so much more damage in return. 40% more spell damage for 100% reduced crit strike chance, which at the moment on me, that's like, if I go over to Freeze Pulse here, that's like 19.2 down to 13.2. So it's like, it's not really that great a loss, especially given the actual damage that it gives. And I'm using Void Manipulation, which is kind of the same deal. It gives you a little bit of a penalty, but the positive of it way outweighs that. You get a slight reduced elemental, which is not less, it's reduced, and then you gain more chaos damage. So this is reduced crit, but more spell damage. So overall those like end up being like big damage boosts. And this is just the 4-link, like there's gonna be a lot more I can do with a 5 and 6 link once I'm able to get that going. So I'm pretty excited to see where this goes, guys, because not only is it like really tickling my edgy fancy, it's just so perfectly, deliciously edgy, but at the same time, it actually, like, the mechanics actually make sense. Like, there's actually reasons for the edge. It's just not edge for edge's sake. It's edge with some actual nice benefits to it, and holy crap, like, right here at the swap, it's actually working pretty damn well, and I'm very excited to see where this goes, especially because I can see that potential to swap into low life, to add some crit scaling on top, to scale this so much further, get that 5 or 6 link, get so many more damage nodes than what I have right now. now. Like, I can see this working pretty damn well, and as I get more and more energy shield, my energy shield is going to be full, whether I have 5k ES or 6k ES or 2k ES. It's always going to be full because of that massive amount of regen I get. Like, I get over 5k energy shield per second from the average pack. That's like instantly full, right? In 1 second, instantly full energy shield. So this could be very, very strong. So I'm very excited to see where this goes, and I will keep you guys posted. If you have any questions about the mechanics of the build, or if you want to offer some suggestions on things I might be able to do to enhance it, then let me know in the comments below. I'll post down the planned passive tree down in the description below, so you guys can check that out and peruse how I'm doing that as well. But as I said, this is not a build guide. If this works out well, I'll do an actual build guide for you guys in the future. But I just kind of wanted to share this project because I'm excited about how the mechanics are going, and I'm excited about the potential here. Alrighty guys, let me know what you think. That's it for now. I'm Ziggy D, and thanks for watching.